What's good, Joe? Welcome to my review for Batwoman Season 2. And, oh boy, do I got a lot to say about this season. So I just finished watching the last episode. I know I'm a couple weeks late on this one, but I'll get into my reasons for that in a minute. But in all fairness, overall, I thought the season was average, meh, mid, mediocre, whatever you want to say. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I could list a few movies that are honestly kind of worse than this. But this season sucked. Let's be real. This season was saved by a handful of really good episodes around the end, and that was literally the only thing that kept me from giving this like a 3 or a 4 or what have you. This show just completely wastes all of the good potential and good foundation from season 1. Listen, season 1 was no perfect season in its own right. I mentioned this in my review for the first season. It wasn't the great. It had its problem, and it certainly wasn't the greatest thing. But honestly, it did pleasantly surprise me. And overall, I would say it had a decent enough foundation. If they kept up to what they were doing in the last few episodes of the first season, that they could have this could actually be a pretty good DC, DC CW series. This could end up being pretty good. Maybe not to the on par with with Cloak and Dagger or something, but it could still be a pretty solid series in its own right. Nope! This second season just said, fuck all that shit, SJW. Let's just go in with that. And now to be fair, it's not as obnoxious. At least, well, it's more obnoxious than it was in the first season, but it's not like every episode, or it's not like Black Christmas 2019, where it beats you over the head with it constantly. But compared to the first, they really go in with that shit a lot in this season. And Christ, it just kills it, man. But let's just jump right in. So, of course, the cast includes Javika, Leslie, Rachel Scarsons, Megan Tandy, Nicole Kang, Cameras Johnson, and many more. And the plot of the second season, basically, as I mentioned, this is my first impressions. Kate has gone missing. She got killed in an airplane crash. People are trying to figure out where she is, and of course, Riley comes in there to take up the mantle of Batwoman. Basic synopsis. Probably got some shit wrong, but I honestly don't care. Now, let's get into the positive stuff right now. The cast, I think, was overall pretty good. The original characters we saw from season 1 were overall, they were about where they expected for the second. They were about probably the most enjoyable part of the second season, were the cast members. Cameras Johnson, who you guys know plays Luke, he is the highlight of the series. This man carries this show. He carries the show on his back. Without him, Batwoman wouldn't be nearly as good. The first season wouldn't have been as enjoyable if he didn't have those really great performances throughout a couple of the episodes. And the second season, my God, would definitely not be as good as it, or my rating would be a lot lower if it wasn't for him. He is the highlight of the series. He's without him my favorite character in the entire series, and honestly, I'd rather he get his own show rather than the third season of Batwoman, because he was fucking awesome. He's great. Once again, he gives an amazing performance later on the series. This dude is without a doubt the highlight of the series. Like I said, Nicole Kang is pretty good as well as Mary. The rest of the cast is overall very solid in their own rights. Javika, Leslie. To be fair, in her defense, she isn't terrible. She does the best she can with what she's given, which is fucking shit. She does the best she can do. She wasn't the worst. Her performance is overall pretty good. But man, Riley, you could not pay me to give a shit about her. I did not care about her at all. I'm not saying Kate was fucking Daredevil levels of fucking, depth and, character development and characterization. But I at least somewhat gave a shit about Kate. At least a little bit. Riley, forget about it. You couldn't get me to care about her, man. I was indifferent throughout the entire runtime of the series. Now, like I said before, there were a couple good episodes here and there. Like we saw more about Riley's backstory with when she was at the orphanage with this girl she was friends with, who later becomes a girlfriend and ex and all this other bullshit. That episode was very good. And the last couple of episodes were also very good. Like I said, those kept it from the show going into complete shit. And like I said, this kept me from thinking the show was overall pretty average. But yeah, so the cast was pretty good. The soundtrack, once again, is very good. A lot of good tracks I thought were in there. The fight scenes are about what you expect. They're fine, but nothing mind-blowing. What else? I was just trying to struggle to find shit that I actually did enjoy. I like the new intro for the show that we got, and there were a couple of other things that I did enjoy, but I won't give away spoilers, at least just yet. But there were a couple things and a couple of the characters that make appearances and other things that I thought were really good, but we'll go more in depth in that spoiler discussion, which is what I'm really good. Now, my flaws. Oh boy. First off, the writing. The writing is atrocious. Like, the show, it's, like I said before, right, like I said, Javaka, she does great. She does the best she can, which is good. But like I said, you could not pay me to give a shit about Ralph. They don't really give much info on other than like, oh, she was fucked by the system. She's black and she was fucked by the system. You know what I mean? Like, you know, she was falsely accused of hauling drugs. She lost her foster mother. All she got left is plant, and she lives in a fucking van. You know, like, I just couldn't care about her, man. She just was very uninteresting. And she gets kind of an obnoxious point. Not to the level of Blackers 2019 obnoxious, but she gets really obnoxious at points. Especially when we get to the shit of the Crows, which is obviously meant to be metaphors for the police. You know, police brutality and cops be racist and shit. You know, fuck black people. You know, all that fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So you have that. Like I said, there's also this other thing with Sophia that goes on with her and Ryan. They of course have beef because she's a crow and she this, and they have their beef, and like something happens later on in the series where she's like, oh, I'll do this. Oh, I can do this, but then she's just like, oh, fuck it, I give up. You know, like in the same episode, man. So you have that. Oh, and also the couple good things I did like was actually Victor Zsasz, once he makes an appearance in that one episode. He was awesome. I loved Victor Zsasz. And Black Mass, we see for most of the second half of the season, I guess is the primary villain of it. He was really fucking good. He was definitely the highlight. Besides Luke, Black Mass was the highlight of Batwoman Season 2, without a doubt. The villains overall I thought were pretty good. The villains they got from other Marvel's Rose, from Batman's Rose Gallery, I thought were pretty good. From the couple ones we did see. So, like I said before, there was like some, I don't know if I already mentioned that, but they were also really good. I really did enjoy them as well. So you have that. The whole thing with Sophia. You have that one episode, my God, with Luke and Ryan, which I'll go more in depth in the sport discussion at the end of the video, that just completely insults your intelligence. And it's just so fucking obnoxious and just, ugh, rolling your eyes bad. But one of the other problems, like I said, I mentioned how the SJW, they go like kind of like head first with the SJW shit rather than just like build off the good foundation from the first season. And that like really shows up in two places. One is what happened between Ryan and Luke around the end of the season. But the one other scene, like, my God, that was so good. So around, I want to say this is like maybe the midpoint of the season. Ryan and her ex-girlfriend are like back together. They've made up. They're dating again. And Ryan ends up in the hospital. I think she's in the hospital for whatever reason. I think I know what it is, but I won't say what it is for spoiler reasons. But anyway, she gets in there, and of course, as you guys know, it's Gotham, Central Gotham Hospital. Of course, it's packed to shit. It's fucking Gotham City. This fucking bitch comes at this poor, probably underpaid, fucking male nurse who is just doing his job. And she goes off like, oh, why isn't nobody looking at Ryan? See this? It's like your black women are fucking misogynist, fucking, I don't know, what the fuck did that bitch even say? Fucking I'm overlooked in hospitals or some shit, and they have like a higher death rate or some shit. I don't know. It was something along those lines. It was something kind of retarded like that. I don't even know if those statistics are even legit, and the writers just pulled that shit out of their ass. But regardless of whether or not the statistics are legit or not, I'm like, damn, that's crazy. But did you forget you living in Gotham City, you dumb bitch? Did you forget the city that you live in? It's Gotham. They ain't exactly known for its safety. You know what I'm saying? It's like, who the fuck comes up with this shit, man? Like, who the fuck comes up with this shit, man? It's fucking retarded. And you have this subplot with Alice. The second season also tries really hard for you to care about Alice, and like low key, you could almost say the second season was Alice's season because she has a major focus, and they like really go into explaining more about her, the time period between when she left her prison when she was kidnapped as a child, and when she became Alice of the Wonderland gang. They show off on what happened between them with this chick named Sophia. I don't know if this bitch has any knowledge or root is from the DC universe now. I don't know if she's like a Batman villain or a Batwoman villain. I don't know if she has any connection to the DCU or the writers just created her. Either way, man, I could not give a shit about it. And look, shout outs to Alice's actor. I'm slipping on the woman's name. I don't know her name, but she does give a very good performance. Throughout, like, especially around the later episodes, she does give a damn good performance, but I just couldn't care. You just couldn't get me to care about her and whatever the shit going on with Sophia and this other dude, man. You just could not get me to care. I just could not care about it, man. I was just indifferent. It was interesting, I will say, a little bit to see about Kyle and learning more about Alice, but after a while, man, I just stopped giving a shit, man. It was like interesting at first when we first saw little bits of it. I was like, okay, this could be interesting. But after a while, like I said, I just lost interest. I'm just like, whatever, I don't care, And I think this really goes to show just how bad the writing was this season. I was almost always playing catch up in this series. Now, because if you guys, I don't know if I mentioned this before in my season 1 review or even in my first impressions, but with season 1, I usually did a good job keeping up with it. I usually was able to catch it up week to week to week, and I was always watching it week to week. There might be a couple times, there might be a couple weeks where I might forget that the episode was airing on Sunday, or I had something else going on, but I usually always kept up with that series. I always kept up with the first season of Batwoman because I was legitimately interested in it, especially around the tail end of it, when it started to get really fucking good. But with this season, I was always just playing catch up because, one, like I said, I would usually forget. I would usually just forget the episodes were airing. I would usually have maybe some other shit I had to do. But that all culminates because I just did not care about the series at all. Like I said, I would often forget about the episode was even there, and that was just because I just did not care about the show. I just did not care about what was going to happen next, about these characters, what was going to happen next. I just didn't give a shit, man. I just didn't care, man. So I was almost always playing catch up. I think after like the first few episodes, I was almost always lagging behind and trying to get caught up in episodes because I always had other shit to do or just whatever. And I was never in any real rush to catch the latest episode of Batwoman, because the writing was just not that good, man. But yeah, man, that's all I can really say without going into spoilers. So I'll give you guys my final verdict, and then we'll go into the spoiler discussion of the video. So if you guys want to see all that shit, if you want to go into this series spoiler-free, you don't want to know what happens in Season 2, click off the video right now after giving you guys my final verdict. For everyone else, we'll go into it. So, overall, I give Batwoman Season 2 a 5 out of 10. Like I said, this show was meh. Like I said, without a couple of really good episodes around the end of the episode, of course, Luke, this show would have gotten a 4 easy. An easy format. But because of a couple of good episodes and what happens with Luke, I got it up to a 5, or it got it up to a 5. But yeah, man, honestly, this show was awesome kind of shit, man. And if there is a season 3, which I'm assuming we'll give him really planting seeds for the 3rd season in the final episode, I might watch it. I probably won't, but regardless of y'all again, I'm not going to be doing no first impressions to Season 3. I'm not going to be doing a season review. This is it when it comes about. This is the last of it covering it. I might do a trailer reaction when the trailer for Season 3 drops, if it does get one. But that's it. I'm out. I'm out, fam. But yeah, man, let us jump right into the spoilers discussion of this review. So, oh boy, where do I begin? Okay, first off, another thing I really did enjoy about the show is what they do with Luke. I thought was fucking awesome. First off, I love when, after the bullshit with him getting shot by cops, he tries to pull his phone out because, cops be racist! Which, my God, could you insult my intelligence any more in that episode? Like, I'm not coming in here saying, no, police brutality is fake. Racism isn't a thing anymore. No. I ain't coming in with that bullshit. I ain't stupid. I know that this shit happens. But my God, could you be any more obnoxious and just so, I don't know, I can't think of the word, but just like so like obnoxious and just so self-serving, being like, yeah, white people be racist, am I right? White cops, and it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, really? Like, could you insult my intelligence anymore? It's not like, oh, I don't know, my fucking criminal justice teacher back in high school was a retired cop and white, and he's one of the coolest motherfuckers I know. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking stupid, man. If you're gonna do the whole police brutality thing about black people getting shot, do something with it. Show me multiple angles. Really get me to think. Not just be like, bam, white guy shoots black guy. Cops be racist, am I right? You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking stupid. But regardless of that episode, what we get is this amazing dream sequence, I guess you could say. Or I don't know if you would call this a dream sequence or what. But either way, Luke is in Wayne Tower. Luke is in there. You can see Lucius is in the background. He's looking out the window, and he tries to go after him. But Bruce, like legitimately Bruce Wayne, we actually get to see Bruce Wayne in the show. And I'll give the show its props when it wills. But this whole thing was beautiful. The writing in here, this whole segment, and Luke and Cameron's performance here was fantastic, man. This was probably my favorite part of the entire series. Was to see, because he gives an amazing performance, and the writing, and they actually did Bruce Wayne really good here. They didn't like make him some obnoxious. They didn't really like try and took him in more of an SJW route. They wrote Bruce like how you would typically expect Bruce to be, and the guy that they have playing him did a fantastic job as well. So shout out to them. So that whole scene, and he's like, and Bruce is telling him like, if you go over there, you're dead. And we just basically see him and Bruce kind of arguing, still trying to figure out, does he want to die and finally join his father, or does he want to live and return to Landfill? And that whole segment as Ryan and Mary are trying to slip him the Desert Rose to, of course, bring him back to life was excellent, man. The acting, I said, was fantastic. That was definitely my favorite part of the series, which ended up with him, of the season rather, with him going for Lucius, but he ends up waking up anyway. And then the next episode is kind of like Luke, this was pretty fucking awesome, where we actually see Luke going over to the ex-Crow member who has now been kicked out of the Crows or whatever, and he joins in a poker game. Which I thought was, Luke here is fucking awesome, man. I loved Luke here. Like I said, Luke is my favorite character. And actually, one thing that was really fucking cool about this section was that you actually see the black dude from Arrow. He makes an appearance in here, which was really fucking cool and crazy, because which I did not expect to see. Now, I've only seen about the first season of Arrow and a little bit of the second season, but that was pretty cool. So it was nice seeing the OG, from the Arrow, one of the OGs from the Arrowverse actually interacting with Luke, because he was also really cool. I remember really liking him in Arrow. So actually seeing him come back and he's interacting with Luke and shit, it was really fucking cool, man, and I really dug it, man. And then, of course, Luke gets his own costume, which, let's be real, it's a Blade knockoff of Nightwing. You can tell as soon as you look at it, this is a fucking knockoff of Nightwing. But damn it, it looks cool. I will say this, it does look fucking cool. But we only see it for a minute in the final episode, which kind of sucks, because I hope we got a little more with how much promotion it got from the Batwoman Twitter account. They showed the suit off, I think it was 2 weeks before the final episode even aired. And so I thought we would see at least for a little bit more of him in the suit, but we only saw it for once. But either way, man, it was still pretty cool to see. I already mentioned the stuff with Bruce Wayne, how that was fantastic. But that my biggest problem is, and this just makes this whole thing, is that they bring Kate back and they recast her. Now, you guys all remember that Ruby Rose decided for whatever reason she left the project after the first season. For whatever reason, she left. She wanted no more part of it, and she was gone. For whatever reason, she didn't want any more part of the scene. And they recasted her with this black shit, because representation and shit, whatever. And I'm sure most of us are like, okay, whatever. They recasted her, black chick, whatever. I'm sure most of us, we didn't think Kate would make an appearance, and the only reason they recast her because they didn't want to recast Kate. Maybe they wanted to leave for Ruby in case she ever wanted to come back. They can give her back Kate. I'm assuming that's what most of us thought at that time. And we watched the show, and of course, the first like 5 episodes or whatever is basically the cast just running around in circles because they're trying to figure out, like, oh, is Kate alive? Is she dead? When we all know the answer is that she's not because Ruby left the project. So, of course, we had them all running around in circles for the first 5 episodes or whatever, which was kind of annoying, honestly. But then, around the end, they bring Kate back. They recasted her with this other shit. And I'm sitting here being like, wait, what the fuck is this shit? So let me get this straight. Ruby Rose leaves the project. You recast her because you don't want to recast someone else's Kate. Fine. Only for you to bring Kate back anyway and you kill her off. Only to bring Kate back anyway and recast her? Then what was the fucking point of like hiring this black chick? What was her name again? Javaka Leslie? What was even the point of hiring her if you were going to recast Kate anyway? Why didn't you just bring her in and just take over Kate? And have Kate continue on the story of Kate's story from season 1? Why you gotta take all these extra steps? You know what I mean? And then at the end of the series, she ends up leaving to go find Bruce Wayne. So obviously Ryan's gonna be sticking around and she's gonna be Batwoman for the foreseeable future and future seasons. Which, whatever, I could care less. Like I said, I'm done with this series. But it's like, I was just sitting there like, what was even the point then? Just for brownie points? Be like, hey, look at how fucking diverse we are. We got a black woman playing black woman now. Representation, you know? Let me get those blacks on Twitter. You know, like, what the fuck was the point? You know what I mean? I was watching this, and then they say, like, oh, she isn't actually Kate. She's Black Massa's daughter who thinks she's Kate. But they're like, no, she is actually Kate. And it's just like, ugh. But it's just like, ugh, what was even the point? Like, legit, what was even the fucking point of all this, of like, recasting her when you were just going to bring Kate back anyway? And recast her with someone else. So what was even the point? You know, but anyway, man, I think that's about everything I got to say about season 2 of Batwoman. Like I said before, it's a shit season that was saved by a handful of good episodes, and of course,